Hello again, it's Liam from Doodle-Art, and we're working on the Doodle-App, and in particular we're working on mini dolls. So we're going to go right to the mini dolls poster and open that up. And we're going to zoom right in on the doll that we're working on, which is the one in the yellow dress with the yellow ribbon. And we're just going to make the dress match the ribbon by adding some shading. So I'm going to select a color which will be the shadow color of 5. 5 is the color that we chose for the dress and the ribbon. So we'll select the shadow color, which will be 6, and we just go one step darker and we start doing the overall shading. Okay, so we'll just go in with a fairly large brush. Let's make it a bit smaller, like about there. And we'll just start adding in a bit of shading along here. Anywhere where there's a bit of shading in the illustration to act as a guideline, and right along in there, because that would be a shadow. Anywhere underneath of the head and the hair and the jaw, there will be shadows. So I know that that's all going to be darker anyway. Like that. And then I'm going to see that line that I just did. I'm just actually creating the flow of the fabric. It's a little bit rounded, the way the fabric is rolling like that, and so I can create that illusion by creating a shape there. I can go back to 5 and I can perfect that line. There we go, like that. And on the right hand side here, let's do that even again and just soften it a bit. Now I think that shadow is a little too solid, it's too big, so I'm going to draw some lines through it and just soften it up a bit. And now it's starting to look more like fabric. And before I go too far, I'm going to hit save. So I don't want to lose any of this. Now colors, I'm going to select 6A as a darker color and just bring that in where I think the shadows would be the heaviest, which would be underneath of her hair and underneath of her head, and especially over here underneath of this this frill. Now I can take that original 6 color and just soften it along the edge like that. You can do them in any order you like. I personally always go from light to dark, but it's completely up to you. In this case, you saw I just went dark to light. It makes no difference. The pixels cover the pixels. So I'm going to take that 6 and I'm going to bring it along this edge and just soften that as well. And then I notice there's a bow here right in the middle, and that bow would definitely drop a shadow. So let's bring that in. And then the edge of her dress would have a shadow as well. So I can bring that right along the edge there and just go down the line because it can be covered up. And there we go. So I'm going to select a darker color again. 7A would be a really good one for a deeper shadow. And I'm just going to really illustrate the darkness underneath her hair and her head. Now I went a little too far there, and I'm going to go back a step by just selecting 6 and softening it. And there it is. Softens it without taking it right back to 5, which was the original yellow color. Now I can make the bow stand out even more by selecting an even darker color and going in here and making the bow really seem to be standing out from the rest of it. And I'm going to do it again with 7A. And now we really have that bow standing out. But they're not the prettiest fade. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to soften it again. I'm going to take 6A and I'll just soften that line. And then I'll go back to another lighter one. I'll go back to 6 and soften that line. And then right back to 5, our original yellow color. As you can see, it really softens it, and it's very much like blending. And so there, that's looking pretty good. The only thing left to do, aside from saving it and keep saving it, it's a good idea, is to add some highlights now. So I'm going to go up to a brighter yellow. I'm going to take 4. And now I'm just going to paint in the highlights. Now we've got these shadows showing the folds, so I'm going to select in between those shadows right there, and then I'm just going to do that. It's kind of like a squiggle. And then along here, same thing, a little bit on the highlights. And there we go. Now the fabric is really starting to look like fabric. And this is why we're calling it advanced. Instead of just being straight coloring, we're actually trying to add more information. So I'm going to hit save again. And I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to add some highlights down here as well. And anything that you do is fine. I mean, you can make a mistake and you can just go back to the original color, 5, and it's kind of like erasing it. There we go. Just like that. And in this particular case, we can see we've got a ruffle, and I want to add some shadow to the deeper part of the ruffle to make it more 3D. And that was too far, so I'm going to undo. And I'm going to make it 6 because it's a little softer. And there we go. Just like that. And then I'll go back to 6A and just a little bit in the middle. I'll take my marker size down to 1 pixel. And in this case, I want to go right against the edge of this ruffle over here. And just make it a tiny bit darker. And again, the edge right here where it's going to go against her blouse, and I'll bring that right down along there. And then last but not least, this little bit here. And that looks pretty good. Well, I think it looks pretty good. I'm happy. So there we go. And the same method just continued and continued until you have the whole character done. Now in this particular case, I think that the yellow needs something to contrast, and I'm probably going to go with a blue for the ruffles.